Welcome to the Friday Power Lunch, a weekly show amplifying the voices of the Virginia grassroots. Each week, we provide engaging conversations about politics, culture, and women making change. Produced by the unstoppable women of Network Nova, our motto is, when we vote, we win. The Friday Power Lunch is recorded before a live Zoom audience. Follow us on social media, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and show us some love and become a sponsor through Patreon. The Friday Power Lunch. Badass women getting things done. Folks, it's Network Nova Live. It's June 7th, 2024, and you are on the Friday Power Lunch. I'm Catherine White, your host, bringing you the guest issues, the action across Virginia and coast to coast, because we get things done and we make politics fun. And today we're talking about organizing your way and doing it. That you can't do it the way we always done it. And you know, this group is really good at doing it their way. We just decide, well, we're going to do this campaign, that campaign. We just follow our own drummer, which is awesome. So I'd like to welcome in the room our three awesome guests that are here. Give them a round of applause. We have Caroline Gleich. Caroline is an American skier, a mountaineer, and Utah Democratic Party's nominee for Senate. Going to replace that Mitt Romney, Caroline. I love it. And also Lisa Leibow, president and co-founder of Scheherazade Project. Welcome, Lisa. We can't wait to hear about that storytelling. And Samuel Schwartz, founder of Gen Z, Tour to Save Democracy. Going to rev up that bus and go across America and tell people and get everybody ready to vote about what's at stake. So first, though, little show business. Because we are a show, we are a podcast. We're also on Spotify and on Apple. You can listen to us. You can watch us on YouTube. How fun is that? But when you're in this room, we have rules, and that's civility. Use the chat, say stuff, be real. Tell us right now what you're working about or what you're thinking about when you saw our president yesterday with other leaders across this country talking about Western democracy that's under attack. I don't know. It just felt like a moment. Yeah, tell us about yourself, but use the chat kindly. If not, we'll just toss you out. Favorite part, after 1 o'clock, go get that extra cup of coffee and get in the back room with us. We turn the lights down and we turn off the recording, and that's where the action and the conversation happens. And lastly, how do we do this every week? I wonder. Well, you know what really fuels us is our Patreons, our people in this room that are our biggest supporters because they put a little bit in our cup every month. And boy, does that mean a lot to support our work. If you're a patron, right here in our heart, thank you. You have a background. You get that every week. Think about joining. $5 a month it will make a big difference. Thank you so much. Because we always say, what's our favorite thing? That no one is coming to save us. It is up to us. So we're so glad you're here with us. Welcome, everybody. And I'm so excited for the next part because we're going to do our grassroots update with Louisa Borowski, our leader of the Virginia Grassroots Coalition. And I have totally missed you. I know you're busybody doing a lot. So tell us what you've been doing.
Well, it has just been very busy in my real job that I run at Georgetown. So we are getting ready for our executive certificate in nonprofit management. And that means we have almost 50 nonprofit leaders coming to Georgetown starting tomorrow to learn how to create stronger organizations that are more sustainable and have higher impact in community. And we're really, really excited to have them here, but it just means that I have been drowning in logistics. So
it's the Louisa logistics. And I have to say that for folks in the audience, the grassroots people that are leaders and people are experts. You have people, professionals like Louisa doing this in their spare time. And you know what you drive the coalition every month. We're just so grateful for your time. So I'm going to let you have your time to tell us what the hell is going on in Virginia. And I hope it's against Youngkin. I'm just saying, I got some words to say about Youngkin after you talk. So,
well, good. Yes, as necessary. Well, so I think the biggest thing, as we all know, is we are almost upon the primary elections. This is the best time in Virginia to be contacting voters in any way you can, but really this is where relational organizing can be so helpful, right? We have a lot of local races that are happening where you're going to be choosing who's going to win in November in 2 weeks, right? So I live in Arlington, Virginia. We have our county board up. We have one seat up for reelection. It's a ranked choice voting situation. And so I'm putting a link in the chat to the candidates for Arlington, but also there's information in this article in the Washington Post about how ranked choice voting works. So if you're not just, first off, tell people who you're voting for, because I think it's very hard sometimes for people to differentiate, especially on the same ticket. Who should we be voting for? But when it's ranked choice, it's like in what order? Right? Because it's a really important strategy around ranked choice. So I do want to encourage you, even if you haven't done this before, I sometimes get emails from local folks in Arlington that just say, hey, I wanted to remind you that the election's coming up, and I'm going to tell you who I'm voting for and why. And I think, it's not a huge push, but it gives people a sense of like, oh, I didn't have the time to do the research myself. And it's really nice for me to hear from someone I trust about how they're making decisions in this election. So just want to remind folks about that. The other thing I'm going to put in the chat is the recording from Virginia 10 Congressional Democratic Primary. They had an issue forum and they had all the different candidates. That's another primary that's really complicated. And I do think it's helpful for people to hear, this is who I've decided to vote for in this primary and why. So I encourage you to do that. The other thing, obviously, that we could use help with is voter engagement. There are a lot of great opportunities to engage voters in Virginia. I think a lot of you are already connected to some of the great candidates, but I'm going to put some additional options in the chat. We have a canvas that's coming up with Fakir Indivisible in Bealton on Sunday. And there are also phone calls for Missy Cotter Smazel across, pretty much all during the week. So if you haven't quite decided how you want to get involved in the primaries, these are some areas that you could help outside of your home neighborhood. And then, of course, there are primaries in other areas that we want to make sure we are helping support. So we've got a canvas in Pennsylvania coming up on Saturday for Patty Kim. There's an opportunity to phone Arizona voters on Monday, and I'm going to put that in the chat. You can phone Pennsylvania voters on Tuesday. And then most importantly is our newest coalition down in Virginia Beach, the Go CD2 coalition, which is mostly run by the COVA coalition. They are having a meeting, which I usually lead, but I will not be there because I'm with my nonprofit people on Wednesday, June 12th. So I'll put that Zoom link in the chat if you'd like to get to know more about the races down in the Hampton Roads area. And then finally, our monthly Virginia Grassroots Coalition meeting is going to be held next Sunday, June 16th at 6 p.m. on Zoom. And I will put that link to Zoom in the chat as well. So lots of ways to get involved. If you didn't hear something that entices you, go to Mobilize, right? Mobilize is a great place to put in the name of your candidate and see what they have organized or what other grassroots groups have organized for them. So last couple of weeks to do this voter engagement. And then finally, if you aren't already thinking about it, every precinct is going to need poll observers and poll greeters. So if you have time on the primary election day, please contact your local Democratic Party to sign up to help support giving out information. So if you're not going to email people, handing out information with the sample ballot or being available to talk about the candidate options on the day of the election can be really, really impactful. So couple weeks to go. And then, of course, the most exciting, the Women's Summit, and we will be there and have a table for the Grassroots Coalition. So if you haven't met us yet and you've only seen us via Zoom, please come over, say hi, and we'll have lots of ways to get involved going forward.
Yeah, we do have a bottom part of us. I know on Zoom, we're not sure what, we're all faces, but we get to meet each other in person. What's great about the summit, but I do want to say a couple of Virginia things. Youngkin pulling us out of that Clean Car Act and the emissions thing. I felt like I was reading that yesterday. I have to say, everybody in the room, if you're from another state, we have the MAGA Youngkin who wants to be like Trumpy. And I don't know if anybody read what he wrote, that he said, it's freedom and to have a personal choice to choose the car of your choosing. And I thought, son of a bitch, you just didn't sign the Contraception Act, and you didn't think women had the freedom to choose what they need for their body. But Youngkin did this whole thing where he said he made sure he took us out of that Clean Car Act for emissions because people should have a personal choice. It's freedom. And I was like, please stop it. I don't know if you read that, but he's been doing these awful things to our state. I can't wait till he's gone.
I know. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And, clean air is also a common good, right? And so we're trying to help everyone. And why do we have to go back multiple decades? Did we not prove the importance of clean air when we did the Clean Air Act? I mean, please. So it's just
it's really disappointing. It's kind of this illegal MAGA thing that Fennell and I will get more into because that was the legislature that we did. That was decided on by lawmaking, and he decided he could overturn that. So we see this happening in every state. Well, thank you, Louisa.
Absolutely. And just as a reminder, if everything we do to get voters out this year will help us elect Abigail Spanberger next year. So this is not a one-year plan. This is a multi-year plan for Democrats to retake the governor's seat. So get out on those doors and get people fired up to vote for Democrats.
What did they say to you? Voters want to hear from you. I just did a couple doors for Brianna, and people were like, oh my gosh, they just want to talk. They're real worried about the election. And so the more that we're on doors, the more we're talking to voters. And that goes for everybody in this room, the state you're in, there's elections going on. Let's make sure that we are the messengers. So thank you, Louisa. We will see you at the summit. We'll see you probably, a little bit there, hang out, maybe have a martini. I'll buy you one. On me.
I'll see you there. Thank you, guys.
Let's bring up Fennell Norton, original OG. Where you at, Fennell? How you doing? Wearing your orange today because we know that it is Wear Orange Day, and there's a big events going on across the country. But in Virginia and Alexandria, they have their big June 7th Wear Orange event. You don't want to miss it. How are you feeling today?
I am feeling good today, and I know we don't have a lot of time, but I have to say this: your opening today was so passionate, was so inspiring. And I want to say that that's the kind of conversations we have to have with our family and our friends and our neighbors. That is what moves people to action. It is really about how emotional the vote is. And when people understand how you apply it to them and what it means to you, that moves voters. And so I just had to tell you that. I was just so moved and inspired by your opening today.
Oh, thank you. Well, I feel like when I think about looking fear in the face and that we know that this is what I hear out there, even on the doors, folks, I think about my Uncle John. It just makes me feel like I could do this for him. I'm going to do this for him. I'm going to do this. This is our time. And this is what we're facing. But that said, I know we have some things on our mind we want to talk about. And I know that it's June month. Let's talk about a few things on your mind.
Yeah. So I'll just say that this is Pride Month. And I think with all of the things that are happening around us, the MAGA people, and how they're so into their own, how they're not inclusive, and how they dislike so many people, which I think is really important to point out so that we can show who they are. But Pride Month is a beautiful thing. It is where we talk about inclusivity. It is where we talk about differences. It is how we celebrate. And I think what I found really interesting is that the word pride, a long time ago, it meant something completely different. But today, it means something really different. And I think it's the time for us to think about what word we would think about in terms of this election, in terms of democracy and what's happening, how we would describe ourselves and the words that are most important to us. But today, this month is about pride.
And I think I love it too, because all the joy it brings everywhere. I mean, thank God we have this whole month to try to find it's joy everywhere you look. And I know I want to talk real quick also before we get to Caroline Glick, is that we have the Women's Summit. And I think about one of the acts in the Badass Broadway show. And for those new in the room that don't know about the Women's Summit, we do this annual event. It's on June 28th and 29th at Tysons, Virginia. An awesome full day program on Saturday. You won't want to miss a thing. I want to highlight the Badass Broadway Bash. In the evening, we have a screening of Resisterhood with the filmmaker and a great, passionate panel with a film critic, Nell Minow, that will be doing that. And I'm hoping we may have a surprise guest for that panel. But that day, we're talking about what democracy is more than a word. We're talking about democracy. We have drag queen Jay Claypool, and as Dixie Crystal singing Gypsy Rose, because drag saved his life. So we're going to show people what democracy looks like in music. We'll have Chris Matthews. You know Chris Matthews, the social justice singer, right? We'll have the feminist president from Feminist Foundation, Ellie Schmill. We'll have Jerry Conley there. We have some great performers. Darcy Dunn from New York is coming down. She's a Broadway singer. We're going to talk about the immigrant story, the story against gun violence. We have great speakers. You won't want to miss it. So I want to make sure that I talk about the Badass Broadway Bash that evening. And it is going to be about democracy and what it is more than a word. So with that said, get your ticket.
Yeah, and I just want to say, when you talk about democracy being more than a word, I know some folks will say, oh, well, we don't want to hear from celebrities, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? I think this is everybody. No one gets a pass at this election. Everybody who has a voice has an obligation to be a part of it. And this is why democracy is more than a word. I know that we had a few weeks ago, we had Andrew Watkins who talked about how Project 2025 will ruin your life.
Yes.
And one of those things was about porn, what porn is. And if you go back and read what she says, all of these folks who are celebrities who do, Beyonce and Taylor and all of those folks, they would think that was porn. So it's more than a word. It's the dance you do, the song you sing, the rap you do. It is all of those things, and we want people to know that.
It's a book you read. It's what we do. It's freedom to be you. And that's what we want to bring alive on the stage that night. And so look at our website, check it out. And I want to make sure that we are ready there's no stopping us now, because that kind of energy that we need to do this election is going to be about getting together and rocking out that whole day and having a blast. We just did the stage yesterday with all the stage hands, and it took us an hour and a half. That's how much we have in this program. Okay. And we have people coming. Jess Piper's coming from Missouri. We have Jessica Craven coming from California. We have Simon Rosenberg. We have Rachel Bitterkoffer. And I can't say enough, so we'll say it at the end. Let's get this party started, because we're going to do it our way, and we're going to celebrate people today that are doing it their way. So thank you, Fennell. Stick with me, because we're going to roll this thing today and have a lot of fun. And I want to bring up Carolyn, talking about doing it your way. Carolyn Glick. Am I saying that right? Is it Glick?
It's Gleich. Gleich. It's like with a G. Yes. It's a tricky one. It's what I was born with, so we're rolling with it. But
well, you know what's funny? That's funny. If it's funny, is that I wrote down here sounds like, and I didn't even myself read my own notes. So Gleich. I love it and I like it. So welcome.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
It's good to see you. And I have to say, when I think about these words of looking fear in the face, and you climb those mountains and you do it anyway, and that you always challenge people to say, I know I don't look like a senator. What do you look like? When people say you're running for this seat out in Utah, and that, what does it look like? Give us a definition of what you think looking like a senator is.
Yes. I think when we all close our eyes, look at our mind's eye, we have this vision of a U.S. senator that is, the word Senate comes from the Latin senex, which means old and old man. And there have only been, right now, we only have 25 women senators. There have only been 60 women senators in the history of our entire nation. And Utah has never sent a U.S. Senate, a woman to the U.S. Senate. And so we're trying to really redefine what a U.S. Senator looks like, because Utah, and thank you all for having me from the East Coast. We are the youngest state in the nation and the fastest growing state in the nation. And when we think about keeping the Senate blue, we need to also be thinking about investing and developing the infrastructure to flip a seat in unlikely places. And that's exactly what my team and I are doing.
Yeah, I love it. And when you're doing it your way, you're an athlete. So let's talk a little bit about you and your background. What got you to climb up these mountains and do this? Talk about being brave and courageous and grit and resilience as you describe yourself. That's what you have. I mean, it obviously is somehow in your DNA. What got you all involved in sports, and then how are you applying it to your race?
Yes, yeah. I grew up as the third out of four children. So I have three brothers, and they're all bigger than me. So I think a lot of my inspiration for wanting to climb mountains was just that I'm really short and I wanted to see what the world looked like from up high to get that bird's eye view. So I had this dream of becoming a professional skier and mountaineer from a young age. I did not grow up skiing competitively. My family really wanted me to get into academics and play music. So I did those things growing up. But as an adult, I decided to pursue this childhood dream. And I started climbing mountains in my backyard here in Utah, and then taking those skills to the greater mountain ranges of the world, to the Alps, to the Andes, and eventually to the Himalayas. And yeah, so
And now you're going to take it to the Senate and wake.
No, yes, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying you're going to take that to the Senate. So in your now campaign, do people know your name? Do you have does that help you in your race, being this athlete activist, that you already have some kind of standing with people? And are you finding how that works for you?
Yeah, while I was developing my career as an athlete, I was also on a track working on policy at the local, state, and federal levels. So every year or twice a year, I would go with different environmental groups to go to Congress and meet with lawmakers in DC to advocate for different bills to clean our air, take action on the climate crisis, and to protect our land. And it's definitely helped to bring in a lot of new people into the process, because democracy, just like you were talking, it should be a verb. This is an action, and we need to keep inviting people in, getting them participating, and realizing that if we love the outdoors, we need to take action to protect that experience for future generations. So throughout my whole career, I've tried to make advocacy look really fun on social media, whether it's voter registration efforts or running for United States Senate. I do show the highs and the lows, because there are lows, there's setbacks, there's those times you get beat down and those unfortunate losses. But for the most part, I try to make it look really fun so other people want to do it. And I'm excited for inspiring other people from different backgrounds to run for office, because it's clear we can't keep sending the same politicians if we want a different result. It's time for new leaders to step up, and Senator Romney himself, whose seat I'm running to fill, he called for the next generation of leaders to step up. And never did my younger self think I would be quoting Mitt Romney so much.
Yes, you answered Mitt Romney's call.
That's right. That's right.
And has he responded?
He has not, and I don't think it's likely that he will, because he's been very clear that he won't get involved in this Senate race. And I think it would be very unlikely that he would endorse or give his support to a Democrat. But be that as it may, he really rose as an unlikely hero during his time as a senator. And I respect the places where he was willing to break party lines and vote for what was right, even though it made him very unpopular with Republicans.
Yeah, you can see it's hard now when people do, like when Hogan stood up that he's running for Senate, looking to change. That seat's very important, and they went and attacked him. So it is kind of really crazy times. But I'm very excited to know about your campaign, and maybe you're not facing a primary, correct?
That's correct. I was able to secure the Democratic nomination at the state convention. Yeah, so I'll be on the ballot in November. And right now, the Republicans are going to a four-way primary that will be determined at the end of June. So during the next month, my team, we're working really hard to build our team and get our infrastructure set for the battle ahead. And it will be a battle, because we're not giving up a U.S. Senate seat without a fight.
No, I think there's a lot of room to take the Senate seat in Utah. I'm so glad you're making this huge effort, and I feel like you have that perseverance to do it. And I'm assuming the young people around that you may be able to persuade a lot of people coming your way. What does those conversations look like with the voters around you that maybe would vote for you?
People are so excited, and we've just felt an overwhelming amount of support, not just in Utah, but nationally. And as competing for a U.S. Senate seat, the biggest challenge, one of the biggest challenges is the fundraising. Like,
Yes,
I
money.
hate how much it costs to run for a US Senate seat. We need to change that to democratize this process. The average cost of a winning Senate seat in 2022 was almost $16 million.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. So we're working really hard on the fundraising. We're working really hard, but people are watching from all over the country. We've had contributions from coast to coast, and I get tons of messages, even from people around the world who are so excited. They're watching this race. And what I really love about this is that so often people are going to the polls out of spite about avoiding they're voting for the lesser of two evils, or they're voting to avoid a worst case scenario. But what is so exciting here is that we're giving people hope, and we're giving people a reason to turn out to the ballot box in November out of love, and with a really strong candidate from a different kind of background. And so that's what really excites me, is bringing that hope and optimism and love back into the process. So that's what I'm really excited about.
Yeah, and you're doing such a great job. I want to say that as we wrap up here, please make sure, I know the team has been putting your information in. Your videos are great. It's inspirational to see how you just physically use your body and to do these scary mountain climbs. I mean, face all this lack of oxygen. So I can't imagine the tenacity you will take into your race. And I do thank you for running. And just last thing, what can we do in this room to help you?
Yeah, I would say help us spread the word. If you can chip in a couple bucks, it really helps. And we're also looking for folks to help us with postcards. And I can drop a link to sign up to do that, to send postcards to help us win over persuadable voters. So I will share that. I really appreciate all of you for taking the time, for being involved, for everything you're doing to not just save, but to contribute to democracy. And yeah, I really appreciate.
Well, thank you so much, Carolyn Gleich.
Yes, thank you.
Carolyn Gleich's here, American skier, mountaineer, and the Utah Democratic Party nominee for Senate. And that was a great conversation. And for now, it just inspires me. I'm going to go backpacking this weekend. How about that?
Well, I'm going to tell you, I think she can win.
Me too.
I'm telling you, I am full of optimism today. I believe that, Caroline, I believe that you can win. And so call me. I got some strategies for you.
Woo, call Fennell is full of great ideas and action. So I'm so excited to welcome the next guest. Let's talk about people doing it their way and doing something different. So go ahead, Fennell.
Yes, I am so excited to have an opportunity to talk to Lisa Leibow from the the Scheherazade Project. How did I do?
You did just fine.
Good. So I am so excited that you are here. I'll say it again so that it's nice and clear. This is Lisa Leibow from the Scheherazade Project. It is wonderful. So I want you to just take a moment and tell everyone what this project is about and tell them the story.
Sure. So the Scheherazade Project is a nonprofit that I co-founded with author Julia Alvarez, who wrote In the Time of the Butterflies and How the Garcia Girls Lost Their Accent. And we started this because she appeared at the National Book Festival in Washington, D.C., and in her moderated discussion, this was back in 2019, and actually it may have been 18. Now I'm losing track of years, but in any event, no, it was 19. And she indicated that her influence from the stories 1001 Nights or the Arabian Nights, as some people know them, that even as a child, she really connected with the narrator of these stories, whose name was Scheherazade. She's a fictional narrator in these tales who we don't know who wrote them. It's anonymous, but they are classics. Many of you maybe have seen the Disney versions of Aladdin or know about Ali Baba and the 40 Thieves. Well, these stories came from this short story collection that is bound, or, whose stories are connected by this frame story of the narrator, Scheherazade, who lived in this evil and misogynistic, in a kingdom where the ruler was evil and misogynistic, excuse me. And
we know leaders like that.
we know leaders like that. And she was locked away in her father's library, only with stories, for a long time, as this evil sultan took a different virgin to bed every night and executed her in the morning. And in today's lingo, when this narrator finds out what was happening outside of her protected bubble, she volunteers to be the next victim. And when she arrives at the Sultan's lair, she proceeds to entertain him with her stories. And as the sun rises, she's at this cliffhanger moment, and she says to the king, "You can kill me like the others, but you'll never hear the end of this story." And he allows her to live another day so that she can continue the story. And this goes on for 1,001 nights. And as we know, our art and our stories can build empathy, can change hearts and minds, can, can allow us as readers or consumers of these stories to understand human experiences that we have not ourselves experienced, and to understand a broader view from the world, maybe to call on Caroline's a bird's eye view, but maybe also a very narrow, close-in view from somebody other than ourselves, and to be better people for it, to understand and to be able to negotiate in a world and not stay in our lane, but to understand how the things we do impact others. And Julia Alvarez just went on to say how she had this vision of a different woman every day showing up in front of the White House and sitting down with a guitar and singing a song or painting a picture or dancing or reciting a poem or telling a story. But she didn't have time for that.
So then this was born.
This was born because I approached her and I said, I live in DC area. At the time I was still living in Northern Virginia, in Tysons, where the summit is going to be.
Yay.
Now I live downtown in the district. But I said, I'm connected to the literary community. I would love to, how can I help you make this happen? And we've been working together ever since. So we began with her initial vision in 2019. And of course, COVID hit. So we shifted from our in-person in front of the White House to an online streamed event. At the time, we decided we didn't have 1,001 nights. We would do 101 nights of programming. And we were also celebrating the 19th Amendment and the voting, the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act from the 1960s, both having anniversaries then. And so we were featuring women. And we went on not just through Election Day, but if you recall, it took us a while to have a presidential decision. So we continue to support our community by bringing them stories, really almost through Inauguration Day. So it was great. It was really powerful.
So this is what makes this so amazing. So if you sort of think about Catherine, when she started today and she told the story of her uncle, I was moved because I thought it was so passionate and so powerful. I've been moved by Caroline's story. And so the whole idea here is that you believe that through your organizing will be through storytelling. And you guys have the idea that 1,001 stories get told before Election Day. How can we all participate in that?
So we are using well, there are a few ways. If you are a storyteller or artist who wants to share your voice, we need stories that draw attention to the issues of the day and tell maybe the personal side of something related to gun violence, climate change, anything. But also, I actually think maybe more now than many times in the recent past, we also need stories to provide a respite from those. We need stories that can entertain and enlighten, and also stories that can build empathy and understanding about trouble, So really any story goes. Anything but hate speech is on our lineup. And I'm going to put in the chat a few links. Let's see. I have those ready.
All right.
I unfortunately did not label them very well.
That's
The
okay. We'll do all that. That's
artist.
housekeeping. That's
Got it.
housekeeping. Don't worry about that.
Okay.
Lisa,
So
we're so excited about the storytelling because it's so important. And go to the link, folks, and look at all the different stories and the project. So exciting to see. No, this is great. No stopping. There's no stopping. Lisa Leibow, thank you. So here from the Scheherazade Project, and and I think there's people in this room. Contact Lisa, tell your story, and it's sort of like what we ask people to do. If you like the video you saw when you danced in the room, send us you dancing, and we're going to put you in the video. So we're going to drop a link in the chat. You're going to upload your video of yourself dancing. We want to add your dance in there. And then Lisa Leibow, the Scheherazade Project, also upload your story, collect those voices. We're excited to work with her to make sure that we get this project, and she collects 1,001 stories. I'm going to tell
1,001 stories before Election Day.
I know the story. I'm going to tell that story, and I'm excited. And let's bring up Sam Schwartz. Sam, how are you? Good to see you.
Hi, thank you for having me. Nice to see everyone.
Yeah, I talk about a great doing it your way and organizing your way. You're the founder. Schwartz, sorry, I called you Schwartz. I didn't have my name up. Schwartz. Yeah, sure. I got Scheherazade. Okay. Samuel Schwartz, thank you to be here, founder of the Gen Z Tour to Save Democracy. What a title. And so impactful on today when we're wearing orange to call attention to gun violence and the impact on that. Tell us your story.
Yeah, well, firstly, thank you for having me. Everyone, my name is Sam Schwartz. I'm really happy to be here. And to let you know what we're doing with the Tour to Save Democracy, and I'll just give you a bit of background about myself. In 2018, I lost my cousin Alex Schachter in the Parkland shooting. This was 6 years ago, and he was one of 17 victims who were killed that day. And my cousin Alex and I were really best friends. We did everything together. I live maybe 30 minutes away from him, and he was sitting in his English classroom on Valentine's Day in 2018 when a gunman who had too much hate and too easy access to a weapon of war was able to freely walk into the school and gun down him and his classmates and his teachers. So this was a defining moment for me, as you can imagine. I remember distinctly going through that day and what it was like for me to go home and see my family just on the floor sobbing. And I knew right then and there that I really didn't know how to take action, but I knew that I needed to take some form of action. And I kind of really dedicated my life to making sure that what I was seeing my family go through and what I was feeling wouldn't happen to another American family. And I'm sad to say that it has kept happening. And not only has it kept happening, but the frequency of the shootings has gotten more. And so in 2023, we have 600 mass shootings, 45,000 people a year dying, 120 of those a day. Half of those are suicides. And gun violence takes many forms, even if it isn't an actual victim. And so today is National, Gun Violence Survivors Day. And I just wanted to, commemorate those who we've lost and have it be a reminder for us of why we're doing this work and why we're taking action and why the need to elect Democrats like Caroline is so important. I think over the last 6 years, it has become abundantly clear of, first starting out going, okay, well, we can talk to people like Ted Cruz and we can talk to Marco Rubio and they'll get on board eventually once they hear our stories, right? The answer is resoundingly no. I have so many stories of meeting with these people, meeting with their staffers, and really just hearing them flat out say, I don't care, I'm not doing this, and I'm going to continue to accept money from the NRA, and I'm going to continue to accept kids being killed in their schools, and really say that this is the best that we can do as a country. So over the past 6 years, it's kind of become abundantly clear that we cannot have Republicans be in office to solve this issue or abortion rights or climate reform or healthcare or education. They're not willing to take action on this. And so what this Tour to Save Democracy actually is a collection of Gen Z activists who have experienced all of the issues that I spoke about, who have been to Congress, who have lobbied, who have tried to do it in a bipartisan fashion, and who have experienced, again, a resounding no. So what we're doing is traveling the country on a bus. We're stopping in the most vulnerable Republican seats across the country, across this nation, to actually flip them blue and create a Democratic trifecta in Congress that not only prioritizes the safety and futures of our lives, but our future, our children. My future, I want to have children one day, and I do not want them to be learning about math, learning about science, and then all of a sudden having to duck under their desk or in a closet because of an active shooter drill. That's not normal. But it was my generation's normal, and it's why we're doing this tour. And I'm very happy to be here with you all to discuss, where we're going, how we're going to do it. And I love to see Caroline running because this tour is all about uplifting the youth. And it's all about, making politics fun for a generation that really is very skeptical of politics, and it's very difficult to get them engaged. But for the most part, we will win. So
Yeah.
Very happy to be here with you.
Fennell, go ahead. I know Fennell has something right on the tip of her tongue.
Yeah, I do. I wanted to just say the messenger is so important. And I think that you guys are the right messengers. And what I loved when we met was you had this really amazing video that I thought really told the story of what you're doing. So Robin, can we play Sam's video?
My generation has never lived in a world without mass shootings.
Or a world that's not getting hotter and hotter by the second.
This is not the reality we chose for ourselves.
Or the future that we want for the next generation.
But the truth is, we're the ones who will have to deal with a broken system we didn't create.
Where our reproductive freedoms are under attack.
And we struggled.
And we struggle to afford housing, healthcare,
and a quality education.
And if we're going to stand a chance at solving these issues,
then we've got to remove the Republicans who are standing in the way.
And replace them with
Democrats
who will fight
for our future.
So this summer,
we're not taking no for an answer.
We're going on a tour.
We're going on a tour across the country. Stopping in Republican-held districts
To flip
them blue. Flipping these seats blue
is key to fixing our future and yours too.
Simply put,
Republicans don't care
about our voices
or our lives.
And as we speak,
they're coming for each and every one of our freedoms
and blocking
all progress.
But when we win, we can finally turn ideas into action
and movements into policy.
But it won't be easy.
It's going to take every single one of us,
no matter your generation.
Yes, that includes you.
You.
That includes you. So please visit tourtosavedemocracy.com to learn how you can get involved and help us build a movement.
So God, that is so well done. Tell me about the team around you. I see some influencers I'm familiar with that I watch all the time on TikTok, by the way. Tell us about the team you've built out and the support maybe that's around this particular tour, and give us more information about what's going on with all that.
Yeah, our team is, as I said, it's completely Gen Z led, which is, I think, the beauty of it. Our theory of change is basically that young people need to see other young people taking action if they're going to do it themselves. And that's why we're doing this tour, is actually meeting these voters where they are and trying to communicate to them in a productive, engaging way that, if you are upset about what's happening in this country with gun violence and the climate crisis and, women not having the right to choose in certain states, then you can actually do something about that. And, we hope to serve as a guide for them, give them motivation and hope, and make politics more entry level and not make it a dirty word. So the people that are working with us, some of them are influencers, but a lot of them are just, organizers who do grueling, thankless work behind the scenes to get this job done. And that's what a lot of politics is. And I am only here because of my fantastic team of activists and organizers who support the work that we do. Yeah, it's really just kind of where we're going is we think where the best possible chances, where Democrats have won before, where maybe they lost by 500 votes. For example, in CA13, where we're going, Democrats lost that seat by, I think, 500, a little more than 500 votes.
Which state is that? Florida?
That is in California, actually.
California. Oh, geez, Louise. Okay.
Yeah. So there's a voicemail going off from my home phone. I don't know if you can hear it,
okay, no, it's I don't think
anyway.
so.
Yeah, so we're going to a place like Texas 15th Congressional District, where it's a very vulnerable Republican seat. It's incredibly gerrymandered. If you look at that seat, it's like a needle that runs through the middle of Texas all the way to the border. And we're really just trying to make sure that young people are activated in these elections, and that we can get a Democratic trifecta that will actually just pass all of these laws. I'll say something that I've experienced lobbying is that it's difficult for Democrats to take action on this because we don't have enough Democrats who will do it. And so just even if we have a majority, we have people like Kirsten Sinema and Joe Manchin, who thankfully they're gone now, but these people were really delaying progress. Yeah, that's kind of the goal here. Is it's very simple: elect more Democrats, 2 Republican seats, pass laws.
Which I think would be really fun to coordinate. We've talked about that. You're probably on the ground coordinating with different organizers on the ground there. And I know that already Stair's trying to get you to coordinate into Virginia, which I love. Stair, our ambassador of Buzz. Fenella, right? Like, what are your thoughts on what's happening here?
Well, I saw Lydia Zuna come up in the chat, and she's in Texas, and you were talking about a seat in Texas. What I love about this is that you guys are doing what I want everybody to do, and that is to look deeply into the numbers, into the data, and figure out where we can go and not take anything for granted. And I believe that this strategic work that you guys are doing will make a difference. We have to stop thinking that, oh, we can't go here, we can't go there, and you just go push through and make it happen. Tell us some of the interesting things that you've seen along the way so far that you wouldn't have expected in terms of some of the organizing that you were doing.
Yeah, so I'll just say from a youth perspective, a lot of young people are engaged, but for the most part, why we're doing this tour is that a lot of young people are not engaged. I go to college. I just graduated my sophomore year, so I'm a rising junior, and I had a conversation before I was leaving to come home for the summer. And the student who I'm friends with, he asked me, like, so yeah, what are you doing with this tour? I saw you posted on Instagram. And I was like, well, we're trying to make a Democratic Congress. He didn't know what Congress was. Just did not know. And so we kind of have as Democrats, it's very difficult for us to give our messaging in a productive way because we're all grassroots, volunteer activists. Meanwhile, we're dealing with the Republican side, and they're funded by billionaires. The NRA funds people, and we have things like the Heritage Foundation. It's so easy for them to just get on messaging. So the things that I have seen is that, a lot of young people blame Democrats and blame President Biden for Roe v. Wade being overturned, which is crazy. And they say that because it was under a Biden administration, that it was his fault, which of course everyone on this call knows that that's absolutely false. And it really was, Donald Trump packing the Supreme Court to allow that to happen. But we really are kind of having a messaging issue, and that's why we're doing this tour, to kind of eliminate that and message people productively, not arguing with them, trying to make this engaging and let them know how they can actually take action. Yeah, so that's kind of what we're doing. I do want to say that this tour is only possible through like grassroots donations. So like Caroline, the need to raise money is definitely real, and it's hard all across the country, I think, for Democrats. So if you have a couple bucks to donate, that would really help us, be able to sleep in a bed and afford food.
Let's do that. Sam, I'm going to jump right in here and tell this room, this is where we need to really stand up and help young people. What we could do for them is giving them this platform and giving them money. And I so agree with you when you talk about, well, next week we have a show about how to stand up against Moms for Liberties. What we find out, they have millions of dollars that they can use, and we're grassroots and we're not getting millions of dollars. So we're up against that, the money issue, like you said, and it sometimes involves in how do we get our word out. And I know people in this room connecting you with some of the people on the ground in Texas and different states in California. We definitely will work with you on that. Any last thoughts, Fennell? Because we're going to have the after chat. I hope you'll stay with us. I know people in this room will want to talk to Lisa Leibow, Sam Schwartz, and also Carolyn Gleich that's still here. So last thoughts, Fennell, and then.
My last thoughts just are, I know money is a challenge, and we'll all do all we can to raise money. I encourage everyone to also think creatively and differently and innovatively about the kinds of things that we can do, because I do think it calls for something even beyond money.
Yep. That's what it's about today. Doing it differently, doing it your way. Little Frank Sinatra, as we say. So Sam, I hope you can stay with us. Are you able to, Sam?
Oh yeah, I would love to.
Because we want to figure out that tour and see who's on the bus. So thank you. And we're going to wrap up here. I want to make sure that, I don't know, I'm feeling pretty good today. I want to thank our guests for being here because, we can't do the show week to week. We have people that come. So much fun to meet new people. Lisa Leibow is here, and also with her project, the Scheherazade Project. I want to make sure that we tell stories, doing it our way, doing it a little differently. And we have somebody running for Senate in Utah, taking that Mitt Romney seat, Carolyn Gleich. Why not? Let's support her. And lastly, Gen Z. We talk about the youth, and Samuel Schwartz is standing up. Let's make sure that we stand up for him. So what do you want to chime in there, my friend?
I think that you covered it in terms of the show, and I'm just totally inspired today, because I do think that everything we've heard today in terms of organizing your way is something that we can all take away. I'm going to tell a story, and I'm going to hope that Lisa will publish my story, because it's going to be fun, because Robin's going to help me do it. And she's a good storyteller. And I hope that I'm glad that Sam is going to stay with us, because I do think that we have to think beyond money, even about other things that we can do that really get some attention. And I'm going to say that Caroline's going to win. There is something about her. There is something about thinking about this election in a different way, which is what we all have to do. We have to get into this uncomfortable place where we're doing stuff that we've never done before. And when we do that, we will win, and we will win big.
Yeah, it definitely is that. And with that, I want to make sure and remind people, besides supporting the show and becoming a patron, I want to make sure that we have a little ding in that cup today for that Patreon. Be one, become one. We really appreciate the support. It helps us do our work. And also the Women's Summit on June 28th, 29th. We have amazing, just go to the website. But I do want to highlight one thing when we talk about democracy looks good on you. That's one of the stages. We have 5 stages that day. Democracy looks good on you. We're going to have a fashion show. And who doesn't want a fashion show to show you how good democracy can look on you? And then what I'm really excited about in that democracy looks good on you segment, we have on an author, professor, a commentator, and her name is Madaba Denny, and she just wrote the book, The Originalism Trap. What I love about this book, she says, why do we accept the way the founding fathers are saying, or the Supreme Court is saying, we need to use originalism to do it our way? She's like, no, we don't have to do that. We can take back our rights, take back our Constitution by thinking in a different way and refusing to go along with this bullshit, as I say. So Madaba Denny, you're going to want to meet her. She's from the Brennan Center, democracy specialist. And then we will have Jess Piper on. Jess Piper talking about the rural realities. And then our Blue Wave sponsor, Red Wine and Blue, suburban troublemaker badasses, Penny Blue and Julie Womack, talking about the culture wars. And then we'll wrap that up with Birth in Color, reproductive freedom, with Kenda Sutton, founder and executive director of Birth in Color, and also Galina Forchena, the policy director. We're going to cover, that's just one stage. And then, of course, we'll have Jessica Craven and talking about what are the solutions. So anyways, did I say Jamie Raskin is coming to talk about democracy?
I talked to someone the other day and they were like, oh, there's
Jamie
someone I'm
Raskin.
so excited about Jamie Raskin because when I think about democracy, to your point, I think about Jamie Raskin. He's been fighting and talking about this for a long time. And like we said before, democracy is more than a word.
Right.
We have to get people to connect to it emotionally about what it is and what you do and what happens when you don't have it. And that's part of the
Right.
fight.
Right. And look, you know, we like to have fun. We're going to have a fashion show. How about that? And next week, the teaser, Education Wars. We're going to be covering that. We have an author, journalist of the Education Wars. Jennifer Berkshire is going to be here. Christian Chouette is founder of the School Board Integrity Project. And we'll also have an author. Well, actually, the lead, Liz, is her name. It's Micatarian from Stop Moms for Illiberty. I'm going to call them Illiberty. Okay, so what a show, what a day. Ain't no stopping us now. Make sure, again, think about becoming a patron. Thank you to the wonderful team up there that we cannot do this show each week without everybody on the show. We see that we have Robin Warner, the show wizard, Stare Calhoun, ambassador of Buzz, Heidi Dragneff, their social media diva, and then Dennis Orsinger, always giving us the great graphics. Michelle McKinney, our community builder, Stephanie Brown and Laura Martinez, our Zoom crew. And thank you to our wordsmiths, Kristen Batista and Alvina Mikkel. Let's roll to the other side. Stick with us. Roll credits.